discuss too. Because I do know some people in like Greensboro and places like that on the city council.
I mean, it's fine with me because I sure don't want to go.
You know, I used to try to go to all of them when I was working at school board of education and national conferences and everything. Some people try to go because I tell you what used to get me when I used to see people going, they spend like $400 registration and spend $600 for the motel for 3 nights. And then they go one day and then they off hanging out with friends they had and stuff like that. I don't like messing with people money like that. Last time they had
What?
Glad to have you in your seat.
I'm glad to be here.
Let's
I'll
get-
be here in April too.
All right.
Not the 16th though.
Okay. I won't either on the 16th.
Yeah.
I'd like to call our meeting to order at this time. Thank everyone for coming. At this time, I'll offer an invocation, and immediately after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day, sunshine that's shone upon us. We ask you, Lord, to continue to be with us as this day comes to a close. We ask that the business and the conversation that we have tonight would be such that would be pleasing to you, that the things that we do would be to our best ability to make this a better place to live and work. For we ask these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is the adoption of the business agenda. I'd like to have someone to make a motion if they would like to approve it as it is presented, or if there are any conflicts or changes that need to be made at this time.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
We have a motion by Mr. Bell. Is a second to his motion?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The agenda will be approved as it is presented. We have one individual, Mr. Taylor, has signed up for scheduled public comment tonight. Mr. Taylor, if you'd like to come forward and come to the podium, or Mr. Bright, either one. Okay, that'll be fine. Yes, sir. I assume that you have been notified that we generally allow 5 minutes. If your daddy was up there, he wouldn't be able to do it in 5 minutes. Okay. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Sell a thing. We have had many people come to me with a situation that has popped up, and we're talking about critical illness for the employees, whether it be fire, rescue, our council, members that work for the great city of Roanoke Rapids. We've had issues with, and I don't know, Ms. Kelly, if I may call upon you, ma'am, did the council get this intel? We do have. Okay, then that'll make it brief. Council, I'll direct this to you and anyone else seated in the audience. These are close to 125 departments, municipalities that have actually looked into this and actually made the purchase. And you're going to say, well, what is this about? Folks, in our town, critical illness is something that's left on the back burner. Critical illness is defined as heart attack, stroke, end-stage renal, kidney failure, major organ failure, cancer, coronary artery bypass, and skin cancer. If you are looking on this red, white, and blue page, you will notice at the bottom it has the numbers 5,000, 10, 15, and 20. You'll notice a figure beside of those. No use to go through that, but that figure is for 1 year. Most situations that come into a municipality is very simple. They will charge you on a monthly basis. We all have something in our homes, whether it be cancer, stroke, or heart attack, and it is paid monthly. Notice the fees, notice the amounts. In conclusion, and I'm at the short rope here of finishing this, why would the city of Roanoke Rapids need this? Simply put, you know someone that has come down with some of these diseases. The situation as we look at it, insurance pays. We hope it does. Let's pick on Joey. Joey goes to the hospital. He has a stroke. While I'm in that hospital, and I have this particular policy, they do an examination on me, and they find I have cancer. 2 of the 6 that we're looking at, 2 of the 7, the policy pays face amount on both. So let's say you had a $10,000. That individual, using myself, would get a check for $20,000. Notice the amount beside of it, yearly premium. Why do we want this? I'm bringing this to a wrap. Folks, when something like this happens, it's a hardship on all of us. We have all experienced it. We know someone that has. Rent continues. Bills continue. There are co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance for your health insurance, or maybe it's Medicare, depending on, as you notice, the ages on this are up to what? Even 75. And after that, yes, the term actually reduces, but you're still covered at age 75. So what I am proposing for this great council is very simply, look at what we have. Let it be an option for what we have for our employees, our council, our fire, our rescue. Lives are put in particular situations daily. This allows you to do what? Maintain the same lifestyle that you had prior to receiving that notice of stroke, cancer, heart attack, etc. So what we are laying at the feet of the council today is very simple. We would ask them to take a look at this for the citizens, the workforce, the folks that we have in the great city of Roanoke Rapids. Whether we do this from, I guess the easiest way, Mr. Mayor, council would be, whether it be deducted, whether the city of Roanoke Rapids picks up and pays for it, something to be discussed. But you've not had this opportunity on a yearly basis. You have had it on a monthly basis. And quite frankly, I don't like that because that's a drain on anybody's pocketbook. Folks, at this time, we went through it kind of quickly. We had met with Miss Kelly, Tina, and Fire Chief Jason, and we spent close to an hour going on it. I'll be happy to field any questions at this time, but that's why we feel there's a need for the city of Roanoke Rapids. Questions at this time, Mr. Mayor or Council?
Thank you for the information. The council will look into it. We appreciate you coming.
Mr. Mayor, we appreciate it. Council, thank you for your time.
Ms. Morgan, unscheduled.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jan Morgan, and I really don't like to have to come up here, but I do like to hear what's going on in the city, and I hope anybody, the citizens out there and taxpayers, do pay attention, and when you've got a question or something seems a little off, do your research and follow up. My concern tonight is we had this conversation about the picking up the trash, and I thought that was great. And then I started thinking, let's see, the city sent and picked up trash, and then a Boy Scout troop picked up 26 or so bags of trash. And I thought, I don't think the city owns that property. Who owns the property? Well, J. Reeves Manning owns the property, and 5 properties in his name et al. In that way. One of them is Burger King. Now, when I tore down my shed and put the trash at the road, I called the city. I said, I'm doing this. How much does it cost? And I paid them. I am not a millionaire or multimillionaire, but I pay what I'm owed to the city because it's not fair to other citizens to pay for these people's bills. It's just like the building and the other building that's been by fire, and these people who have plenty of resources are perfectly happy to just let the taxpayers absorb it because it doesn't hit their bottom line. Well, I'm just saying, and my reference was Animal Farm, is why I was coming up here. And if anybody is familiar with the George Orwell book about Animal Farm, the reason I said that is because one statement in there stuck with me where the leader says, yes, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Well, I pay taxes just like they do, and I hope they do. And I don't know why this person wasn't billed or something happened, and kudos to the Boy Scouts, but why don't they help clean up city parks or something that'll help our tax so we don't have, if you're going to do it with something that'll reduce the city expenses, not something to benefit our wealthy citizens who don't want to pay for their own bills. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. The next item is the approval of the March 6, 24 meeting minutes. Someone,
Motion that we approve the minutes of March 6th.
have a motion by Mr. Bell to his second to his motion. Second by Mr. Stainback. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes be approved as they are presented. Item 6, we have several items under new business. The first being, I call on the city manager for the voting delegate for the North Carolina League of Municipalities.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The League of Municipalities offers annual elections of various capacities within the organization, and a voting delegate is necessary to be appointed to hold or to conduct or to participate in the electronic voting process. The voting used to occur, and some of it did occur at some of the city vision conferences where we've had it before. And so with that being said, the City Vision Conference is scheduled April 23rd through the 25th in Winston-Salem, and Councilman Bell and I are both planning to attend that, where the results from the elections will be announced. With that being said, ask the council to consider a motion to designate Councilman Bell as the city's voting delegate for the 24-25 League of Municipalities Board of Directors electronic election.
Okay, do I hear such a motion?
Mayor, I'd like a motion to designate Councilman Bell as the city's voting delegate for the 2024-25 North Carolina League of Municipalities Board of Directors electronic election.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Bryant and a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any more discussion on this matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you for being willing to serve, Mr. Bell. Consideration of an audit contract for 2024 year. Call on the Finance Director, Ms. Johnson.
Time of year again to approve the audit contract. I would like you to consider a motion to approve the engagement letter and the audit contract from Gregory T. Redmond for the year ending June 30, 2024. Do you guys have any questions about that?
If no one has any questions, we entertain a motion at this time to approve the audit contract.
I got one question for, last year our audit was what, 22,000,
24.
24,000, so it went up $3,000,
Yes.
3,500 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because of
It's
the
because
fault
of
money?
GASB 87, GASB 96, and GASB 101. The LGC has a new website that has different requirements, and also the single audit requirements for like our federal grants that we get.
Thank you.
Anything else for Ms. Johnson? Okay, then we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the letter of engagement and contract with Gregory T. Redmond, CPA, to conduct the audit for the city financial statement for the year ending June the 30th, 2024, and to authorize the mayor to execute the engagement letter and contract.
Okay, motion by Mr. Smith, second by Councilman Stainback. Any more discussion on the matter? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion be approved. Next, I call on the police chief, Chief Guy Ant, consider a traffic code amendment. Good evening.
Good evening. I bring you no mention of the word Gatsby, so that's a private joke fire. So I come to you talking about the consideration of a traffic code enforcement. This is ordinance 2024.07. This is item 6C in your agenda. This is concerning a request to put a four-way stop between on Virginia Avenue between Julian Allsbrook Highway and East 10th Street. We have seen received a numerous amount of complaints from citizens and others about this particular street being a thoroughfare, a drag strip, and other words that have been used. Actually, in our first survey that we did, community engagement survey, it's actually mentioned 4 times in that, and I sent y'all an email earlier, and if you want a copy of that, I'm gonna lay it here if you need to get that. But the citizens have spoken, so we did traffic enforcement between November the 1st, 2023 and February 1st, 2024. During this 3-month period, we wrote 19 citations for speeding and other motor vehicle violations on that particular strip between Julian Allsbrook and East 10th Street on Virginia. Before I came, I understand that they put a 4-way stop on Marshall because it was having similar issues as that. So I reached out to our Public Works Director, Larry Chalker, and he and I had a long discussion about the history behind that and what would be required to do. And I think we come up with a location that is key to putting a 4-way stop would quit this behavior that people are having on that particular street. There are 8 different entrance and exit points from Julian Allsbrook to East 10th Street on Virginia. 6 of those are T intersections. That'd be 15th in Virginia, Pine in Virginia, Raleigh in Virginia, 12th in Virginia, Carolina Street in Virginia, and 11th in Virginia. And only 2 actually crossroads, one being 14th in Virginia and one being 13th in Virginia. 14th is so close to Julian Allsbrook that it really wouldn't behoove stopping the behavior, because you would stop at that stop sign at 14th, but then you have a long stretch of road before you make it to 10th. So we looked and we discovered that 13th in Virginia is not quite halfway, but it's a really good spot to put that 4-way stop sign, and we think that by putting that 4-way stop sign in there, it will curb the behavior, the speed that is occurring on Virginia. And we would like to do similar to what was done with Marshall Street with the flashing sign. I think that what we would do, since the one in Marshall has been there for so long, if the council approves, we can move the flashing stop sign to 13th in Virginia to get people's attention, because it'll be new. The one that's at Marshall now has been there for a while, and people are pretty used to that signage being there. So I've talked to Public Works Director, and he says that there would be no problem at all installing a sign, a 4-way stop sign. at that particular intersection. So I bring to you the data that we have pulled, the information that we have incurred from speaking to our public works and the history behind that particular area of the city. It seems that when Marshall had that stop sign, they just moved down to the next street, which would be Virginia. So we believe that this will curb that behavior, and that is our main emphasis here, is to stop the speeding on that, to protect everyone public safety wise, and to make sure those that live on that street, they're safe backing in and out of their driveway, pulling in and out of their driveway. There's a church there, some other, definitely a lot of houses there. So we bring this to you, so if, hopefully you would consider this as an amendment to adding that four-way stop. But I'm open for any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions? We would need a motion to adopt this amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to adopt the traffic code amendment ordinance number 2024.07.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Smith. Do we hear a second to his motion?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bryant. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion will be approved. Thank you, Chief. Again, I'd call on the Finance Director in consideration of a budget amendment.
Yes, we had our workers' comp audit for year 22-23. Just want to tell you they were 6 months behind. Should have this in September. Normally, we did it in September, I would be able to book the full, to encumber those funds. But anyway, we just got it, and it was an additional $64,340. And that's based on our workers' comp claims, also those claims based on our exposure, subcontractor, that sort of thing. So I'm asking you to consider a motion to adopt a budget amendment, 2024-08, in the amount of $64,340. Now, I hope we don't have this issue again. We're not using travelers anymore. We're using Nancy Lee. I hope that they will get this to us on time, in order for us to handle it properly.
Does this money have to come out of fund balance? Or is it money in the budget?
We don't, it has to come out of fund balance.
I mean, I don't think we have a whole lot of choice. Do we have to pay it, don't we?
I have a question. Is it for an additional 6 months? Is that?
No, it was based on last year, 22-23 workers' comp claims.
But it was 6 months late in
But
billing.
they were 6 months late in giving it to us, so we actually had to inquire about it. We haven't gotten our audit yet.
Okay, how much was it prior to the 60? This is an additional amount,
Yes,
right?
it was $199,686. So in addition, 64,340 makes it 264,026.
And this is based on the prior year
Right,
claims.
right.
It doesn't have anything to do with the payroll.
No.
I thought it was based on how much you paid your employees.
When they calculate it and you take into consideration, somebody in public works or a trash truck had a workers' comp claim, they will take that hourly wage into consideration, but it's
But it's based, the less claims you have, the less you have to pay.
right.
Okay.
Right. Like, I have seen you get money back before, but that's very unusual.
Okay. Well, anybody else have any questions? We need a motion to pay for it.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to adopt budget amendment ordinance number 2024.08, amount of $64,340.
Okay, motion by Mr. Steinbach. Do you hear a second? Mr. Strickland? Second by Mr. Strickland. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion will be approved. City Manager's report, Ms. Trainum.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to highlight a few things for you. Coming up soon, we're in the month of March now, and March the 23rd, the City of Roanoke Rapids Recreation Department will host 2 Easter egg hunts, one at Challoner Recreation and the other one at TJ. You'll see flyers going around about that for kids from 12 and under to participate in different age group related activities and fun for the family at those events. We are in our budgeting season of anticipating what's to come for the next fiscal year and determining what our expenses are. The budget process and as the overall ordinance and policy is one of the most important things that the City Council approves every year, and so our staff are working to collect their numbers and have those submitted to me by the end of the month, and anticipate late April we'll start having some meetings about more intent or more specific meetings with the departments as well, and during the first meeting in May, which I believe is the 1st or 2nd of May, or it's earlier in the month, a budget message will be provided for you. The revenue estimates from the state are still, I guess, we're still waiting those to come as far as any guidance from the state allocations. From the meetings and some of the trainings I've been to recently, and some of the other staff have as well, it seems that we're kind of in a new normal, I guess, right now, but I feel confident that we, especially in this current fiscal year and moving forward, that we have conservatively estimated our expenses and our revenues, and we'll come out, we should break even this year. That's what we always hope for every year, but again, there's a lot going on the next few months about the budgets, and so if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Next Friday, March the 29th, the city offices will be closed in observance of Good Friday, and subject to any questions you may have, that concludes my report for the evening.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
I got a question for
Okay, Mr. Smith.
the with the new evaluation that came out with through the county, and in our tax situation, do you think maybe we can work this budget out whether we can give back maybe 2-cent tax reduction on our citizens in Roanoke Rapids?
We've just received the preliminary numbers right now, but again, I'm not, as far as we'll look at the revenue neutral rate and what that would realize and look at what our expenses are, but ultimately the city council has to approve a new tax rate in the development of a budget. So
While we're working on the budget, if we could, think about reducing our rate at least 2 cents, that'll help the people in Roanoke Rapids. A lot of the people that's on Social Security. So that's something I'd like you to think about.
you're talking about on the current tax rate, the 661? Okay.
Right. I got one other question for you too.
Sure.
I got some questions on the political signs and different signs that's on the streets of Roanoke Rapids. What do we, I think it was March the 5th that they had the voting, but we still have political signs out there. We've got people wanting to buy houses like that all over the streets and stuff like this, and I know it interferes with the public works when they had to go out there and cut grass and different stuff like this. Are we making any effort to get this cleaned up, or is it anything that we can? I think our amendment, one of our ordinances says that they got to get permission to, to put these signs out there. Am I wrong? I know they can't put it on telephone poles and light poles and stuff like that without the permission from the owner.
Signage in the right-of-way essentially can be removed. I mean, people can't, there shouldn't be there's not a right to just place signs in the right-of-way because of the traffic regulatory devices and so forth. Our ordinance, we do have some ordinances about it. There has been some legislation from the Supreme Court level over the last several years in various interpretations stating that you can enforce the location of a sign, but you can't enforce the content. So how are you supposed to look at a sign and say that's a political sign if you're not allowed to regulate content? Does that make sense? So, and then in the past, we've gotten into situations where it's like, well, pick up certain signs, but not those signs. And so political signs, staff do not touch. We do not touch any political signs at all. It's the responsibility of the candidates to have their signs, but any other signage in town that, but we have the ability to remove those from city right-of-ways if they're unauthorized.
Can we contact these political people and tell them they need to remove the sign? I mean, the election's over with. I mean, it's just going to sit there forever.
If I can kind of interject, I do think there is a state statute on, how long, when individuals can put up the political signs and when they should take them down. And a lot of times that is not, at least in the kind of local area, that's maybe not followed as best as it can be. But the city manager gets to where the real heart of the issue is, I think, as far as some kind of city program to go around and collect them all, is that you want to avoid a situation where a candidate says, well, you're picking on me because of X, Y, or Z. And now it's a little bit different when the election is over and done with. I would maybe suggest that as Councilman Smith has, that if there are some out there, and I have seen them around as well, that there's an attempt to maybe reach out to those candidates and say, look, we need to get this taken care of, and kind of go from there. And I realize that puts extra work on city employees who already have enough to do, but I would prefer to at least take that approach rather than just going around and collecting them and kind of being reckless about it. So.
And really, when getting into political signs aside, the other types of signage are, our staff can, work within our confines of interpretation under the First Amendment, free speech rights. But in general, if it's on private property, the permission should be secured prior to someone placing the sign.
And if it's on private property, that's really the private landowner's, job to do too. It gets fraught. Now, we do have sign ordinances and things like that. You could go put up a billboard in your front yard. So and there would be some issues with that as far as zoning. But as far as and I think probably what we're talking about are what I call the little yard signs, little, maybe 4x6 or whatever they are, probably smaller than that. That kind of stick down in the ground like that. That's something that hopefully they'll go ahead and be gotten up. And
one thing we've done too in the past is just make a blatant statement to to all businesses, or try to say, or if we have collected them, we put them in a specific location and let them know where to pick them up, because we know that a lot of times these signs come at a cost; they're not free, and so we don't trash them when we do pick them up unless they're broken or just dismantled. But in general, if they are collected, they're able to be obtained back from the installer.
I think what Councilman Smith was saying, I don't think we would want to pick any of them up before an election. We're not talking about somebody puts them out there one day and we go take them up. But the election's been 2 weeks today, I think, and there's still a lot of them out there. If the state statute, or if we could adopt something that says 2 weeks is plenty of time, and I would think during the election you could notify people, say 2 weeks, and then if we can collect all of them, because then we're not going against what they're saying, we're against them leaving their property on the right of way. I mean, I realize y'all might think it's real picky, but they get to looking kind of bad after they've been out there 2 months.
they're not made to survive
Yeah,
for very long.
they don't do well, especially if you have some snow and things like that. They just don't. And anyway, okay. Well, thank you. I think we will. And nobody else has a question. Thank you for your report. And Finance Director report, Ms. Johnson.
I don't have a question for you, but I want to thank the Finance Department for the way they have invested what money that we do have. I look at the interest, and we're just about double interest that we anticipated getting. So well, make sure you thank your staff for what, for looking after it. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Anything else that needs to come before the council tonight? If not, we'll call for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Bell, second by Mr. Steinbach. Any more discussion on the matter? There is none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We stand adjourned.